Testimony continued today in the most notorious criminal trial in Richland County. Dr. John Boyle is accused of killing his wife Maureen and burying her body.
The 12-year-old son finally took the stand.
Boyle confidently told the jury it was his decision to testify against his father.
I heard a scream. I heard a thud. It was about this loud.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
I decided at an early age that our trauma should not be what defines us. It's what we choose to do with it that does. I'm here to share my unique perspective on true crime, mental health, society, and popular culture, and always with a slight sense of humor. I'm Collier Landry, and welcome to my show. Live from Santa Monica, California. Wherever you guys may be and however you may be watching or listening, thanks for making me a part of your day. Mover Nation, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on a Wednesday? I'll tell you what I have right here. I have one little, very ornery little puppy sitting next to me who is very eager to have her treat. I will share this. There's little Marisol. Marisol, hi, sweetie. Say hello to everyone. You're YouTube's favorite Chihuahua. Just nobody knows it. All right. It is time for what she has been waiting for because it's been sitting on my desk. It is time for her little greenie treat, which she is she is obsessed with right at the moment. All right, come here. Come here, sweetheart. Come here. There you go. Hold on. Everybody's got to see you get your treat. There's your treat. Okay. There you go. All is well with the world now. Mover Nation, what's going on a Wednesday? It is sunny here in Santa Monica, California. I went down to the beach earlier today to work out, and it was so overcast. I could not believe it. It was so overcast. You couldn't see anything. It was a really heavy fog, and I live up on a hill. And the ocean is obviously not on the hill. And so I get down there and it's you can't see, 100 yards in front of you. The fog is so dense. So it makes for an interesting exercise routine when you really can't see anything. But now I come back home and it's nice and sunny. I mean, it's fairly sunny. Now the fog is starting to set in. And here we are. So welcome to all of our channel members and Patreon supporters, subscribers. I see a lot of you here. We still have our mods. Cat Loves Catskills. Zet is here. We've got Karen Fan, Hound Doggy, Laura Corkill. Thank you so much for posting early. Miss K. Sherry Falls is here. Jen Thunder. Thank you guys so much. Amethyst Moon, aka Hoodie and a Crowbar. Vicky Averett, Donna Berry, Mary Alice Haas, Susie. Thank you all. Zimmy is here. All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. Marie Hathaway. What's going on, people? All right. So what is going on? I don't, I was on Soft White Underbelly the other day, and there's been a lot of comments that have been flooding in, and I've been looking at them and watching them. And again, big shout out to Zet, who's a mod here, who introduced me to Mark Laida from Soft White Underbelly. So it was really cool. Sorry, I'm very thirsty today. But somebody sent me an article, and it was interesting because, and I'll try to see if I can pull this up. I posted it on the YouTube channel. A friend of mine had seen the Soft White Underbelly and then saw my photo, and then said, and then sent me a side-by-side of Matthew Perry, black and white as well. It was like, I don't know, separated birth. It was just a friend of mine I went to high school with. And I actually think about this friend from high school a lot because I don't know if you remember, but like back in the day when you got pregnant in high school, it was like a big, like a real stigma, like, oh, she got pregnant in high school and this, that, and the other. And, she's now, obviously we are the same age or about the same age. And she's like the coolest mom. Her kid's, well beyond college now. And in the world living, I think the kid is now married. I think she's a grandmother. And she's living her best life in her mid-40s. And I think to myself, maybe there was something behind that. Like get the child, have a child early, and then live the rest of your life and be done. I have many friends that have had children very young in life. And as someone who does not have children other than a Chihuahua child, oh man, she ate this treat really fast. As someone who hasn't had children yet, and who kind of wishes that I had them much younger, I think about her a lot. So anyway, she sends me this thing and shows me the side-by-side Matthew Perry separated at birth or whatever. And then today I see that, and I'm going to do a separate episode. I've been talking about it for a minute, covering the whole Matthew Perry situation with what was uncovered, which is, obviously this doctor, this ketamine queen, they called her, and the role of the assistant. And look, I've worked in Hollywood for a long time, and I've always heard wonderful things about Matthew Perry. I mean, I know he had addiction issues, but I've never heard like a ill word spoken of the man, like not a bad guy or anything like that. Just, had an addiction problem, God rest his soul. So there are a lot of people that wonder, how do these people obtain these substances, or how do they, how are they surrounded by enablers? And it's like, they're wealthy, they're powerful, they're really likable, they treat you really well, and of course they become like friends. And a lot of these assistants get caught up in the middle. And I'm not excusing anything, and I'm not saying that anyone is justified for anything other than they find themselves in a situation that's very difficult, and it's unfortunate that it ends this way. But there's just so many enablers that surround these people, and so many doctors. I've had friends in the past, and working in entertainment, and I just remember seeing like thousands of Vicodin in their house, and just thinking to myself, like, how do you get that many? Isn't that illegal? how do you actually have that much? And overprescribing doctors, or you find a shady doctor. And I was even discussing this the other day with somebody, because I saw a friend recently and they were very emaciated, and I thought, is that Ozempic or is that something else? And kind of discussing with a mutual friend, like, what's going on there? What's happening? I don't really know. But I want to pull up this article because apparently this doctor has pled guilty to these charges, not even going to trial, just straight up guilty. And there you go. Oh, there we go. There's our flash sale, $1 for 1 year. Maybe I should, you know what? I should subscribe. I should subscribe to USA Today just to have access to it. So you guys can see this. All right. Hold on here. The Marisol cam. All right, Marisol, hold on. We got to have you on camera, baby. All right. Yep. There she is. Happy Chihuahua. She's almost done with that treat, though. You're almost done with the treat? Yeah, I said treat. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. They're going to play a little bit here. All right. Sorry about that. It's probably just has music, to be honest with you. It's probably not even a description of what happened. Okay. Allegedly taken down. Wonder how much this moron will pay after learning. Ketamine queen Jasveen Sangha, 41, allegedly used her LA home to store and distribute ketamine and methamphetamine. I mean, all right. Salvador Plasencia and the ketamine queen. Live-in assistant would allegedly inject Perry with ketamine. Ugh. Dr. Mark Chavez, 54, used to operate a ketamine clinic and faces up to 10 years in prison. Producer Eric Fleming pled guilty earlier this month to a count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine. This is crazy. We're going to dive into this article. What is this guy saying?
Everybody loved Matthew Perry and Chandler Bing and Friends. And the death itself is obviously tragic. Everybody loved Matthew Perry and Chandler Bing and Friends. But it's just a very unfortunate situation.
Well, yeah, it's completely unfortunate because because of what happened. I'm going to get rid of this ad. Larceny. All right, we'll dive into this really fast, and I'll give you my opinion because of course I have one. That's why you guys are here. Cat Loves Catskills, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you so much for the super sticker or super chat. Oh yeah, and you know, not to forget those of you that have been dealing with on the eastern side of the country with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Really challenging. I spoke to a friend, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the live the other day, but I have a friend who I hadn't heard from. I messaged him on last Monday, like, are you guys okay? Or whenever the storm hit, and I didn't hear back from him, and finally did. And he was just like, yeah, he's like, we won't be home for months. He lives right outside Asheville. He's like, we won't be home for months. Really, really sad and heartbreaking. Karen Fan, your parents are still without power. That's terrible. Hi, Gen X. Oh, whoa. What happened here? Hey, Gen X to the 7th power. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, Vicky Averitt. I'm so sorry. We have an addict in our home. We moved from Texas to Utah in hopes that a changed environment might prompt a change of heart. It took our son 2 minutes to find a dealer. Yeah, I'm so sorry. A lot of these ketamine clinics, you know, I had a friend that had undergone this therapy. She's a therapist herself, and she had gone to do ketamine therapy and also psilocybin therapy as well under doctor's care in Utah. And I know that a lot of people travel to Utah to get these services because that's one of the only places they're legal, which is always kind of is also strange to me because it's it's a Mormon state. Let's start a poll though. Let's do a poll here. Do you guys think that Matthew Perry's docs are to blame? Docs for doctors, not for documentary film. Guys, by the way, please hit that like button. There's 50-some people here, 60 people here, 22 likes. Please smash that like button. I would really appreciate it. That really helps move the needle on the algorithm on the channel. I greatly appreciate it. All right. I'll read more of this article because this is the stuff that I find obviously very heartbreaking, but also very interesting because hi, Jennifer Lewis Harris. Thank you for joining. Yeah, Marisol, you want another treat, don't you? She's right here by my leg. I want another treat, Dad. So, as the article says, I almost can read the print on the actual, but I won't be able to move it on the actual screen. That's kind of cool. I don't know if you guys know. Some of you guys know on the channel, I had LASIK surgery like 9-10 months ago. And before that, I had glasses on all the time. Reading glasses, they were always stashed in different places. The house, it was a nightmare, and my vision is still like really awesome from the LASIK surgery. One of my friends told me it wears off in like less than a year. It hasn't worn off, knock on wood, hasn't worn off yet. There's the putt of the airplane outside. I live right by an airport, so it's I live by several airports, so it's a little annoying. So on Wednesday, Dr. Mark Chavez, 54. So a third person has pleaded guilty in Friend star Matthew Perry's death. On Wednesday, Dr. Mark Chavez pleaded guilty in Los Angeles, which Wednesday being today, to one count of conspiracy to distribute the dissociative anesthetic drug ketamine. The charge comes with a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release, or a fine of $500,000, or, quote, twice the gross gain or gross loss resulting from the offense, whichever is greatest, according to the plea agreement filed August 15th, which was reviewed by USA Today. Chavez, who has agreed to hand over his passport, restrict travel to Central and Southern California, and refrain from possessing illegal drugs and marijuana and stop practicing medicine, per Chavez's conditions of release, is scheduled to be sentenced on April 2nd, 2025, per NBC News. USA Today has reached out to Chavez's lawyer for comment. A spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California did not respond to a request for comment. Well, he could face up to 10 years in prison. Obviously, also not, there we go. There he is with his lawyer. I don't know. What do you guys think? 10 years, maximum sentence at 10 years in prison. Then he gets 3 years of supervised release or a fine of $500,000 or whatever's greater with the net gain or net loss. I got to look at our poll too. 78% say yes, and 22% is saying no. So what do you guys think? Do you think that he ultimately is responsible, or that the doctor's prescribing this? And it's interesting because, ketamine, I believe, was a cat tranquilizer. I remember back in the day hearing about this. It's a big party drug, or at least it used to be. It's a really big party drug in the UK, apparently. I've never quite understood the allure of it because I've known people that have done it. It makes, it's just not good. And you can get into what's called a K-hole, which is where you essentially are frozen and you can't move. Now, I have zero experience with this, thank God. But I've heard the horror stories, and I've heard just people, it's like you're paralyzed, but you know what's going on. You're aware, but you can't move. Very scary, because I've seen it happen in nightclubs, and they're on the dance floor just like this. And you don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. It's really bad. What are you doing, little one? Do I need to put you downstairs? You can't chew my shoes. She's going to try to chew my shoes. Nope. Can't have this. You may not chew my shoes. She's like, I want another treat, Dad. You want this? You want this? Yeah, not really working for her. Anyways, bad drug, and it's odd to me that they allowed this to even happen in California. I realize that we do have legal marijuana, and we do have legal psilocybin and things like that, or semi-legal psilocybin, I believe. I don't know. Anyways, previously a judge had allowed Chavez to be released on $50,000 bond on August the 30th outside the courthouse that day. His lawyer, Matthew Benninger, said that Chavez was, quote, incredibly remorseful and doing everything in his power to cooperate to help in this situation. Read, help his situation. Not help in this situation. Help himself out, because now he's in trouble. U.S. attorneys had accused the San Diego-based Chavez, who used to operate a ketamine clinic, of illegally obtaining ketamine that was sold to Perry by presenting false information and writing a prescription without an unnamed patient's consent, according to Chavez's plea agreement. Chavez and his lawyers signed the agreement on July the 22nd. Perry, who was open about his struggles with addiction, was declared dead at his Los Angeles area home on October 28th, 2023. So, wow, that was a year ago. That's wild. After responding officers discovered that the 54-year-old was unconscious in his jacuzzi. No. His live-in assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, placed the 911 call. More than a month later, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office ruled Perry's death an accident, with the primary cause being the acute effects of ketamine. 5 people have been charged in connection with Perry's death. Hey, you can't have that. Nope. I have her up here so you guys can see how beautiful she is. Come here. Come here, Marisol. Come here. There's your puppies. There we go. Yes. I know. You're just the sweetest. You're just the sweetest puppy ever. Yes, you are. Yes, you get your camera time. Don't you? I love you so much. You want some food? Here, have some kibble. That'll keep you occupied. You want some kibbles? Here's some kibbles. Here's kibbles. Let's see if that does anything. That'll keep her occupied for a couple minutes. Who was who was accused of Matthew Perry's death? Leading up to Perry's death, Iwamasa purchased at least $55,000 worth of ketamine for the actor, attorneys have said. He pleaded guilty this month to one count of conspiracy to distribute ketamine. Eric Fleming, described as Perry's acquaintance, admitted that he distributed the ketamine that killed Perry. On August 8th, he pleaded guilty to two charges: conspiracy to distribute ketamine and distribution of ketamine resulting in death. Officials allege Jasmine Sangha sold Fleming the ketamine that led to Perry's death. Sangha, who is referred to as, quote, the ketamine queen of North Hollywood in U.S. Attorney's filings, faces 9 criminal charges, including conspiracy to distribute ketamine, distribution of ketamine resulting in death, and maintaining a drug-involved premises. Sangha, who has pleaded not guilty to all counts, and Dr. Salvador Plasencia are accused of, quote, distributing ketamine to Perry during the final weeks of the actor's life. Plasencia faces 10 total criminal counts and has pleaded not guilty. Plasencia, who operates Malibu Canyon Urgent Care in Calabasas, California, will be returning to his practice, his attorney said on August the 21st. Oy vey. Attorneys, doctor lied in documents to obtain ketamine for Matthew Perry. U.S. attorneys claim that Chavez transferred 22 vials of ketamine and 9 ketamine lozenges, which were fraudulently obtained, to Plasencia for sale to Perry. Chavez was, quote, fully aware that selling vials of ketamine to a patient for self-administration was illegal, the plea agreement reads. Like, that is just absolutely unbelievable to me. And let's look at our poll here and see what you guys think. 80% say yes, 45 votes. 45 votes so far. 45 likes. Guys, there's like 70 people on here. Click that like button, please. I appreciate it. 46 votes. 80% say yes, it's the doctor's fault. I tend to agree because and I can remember when back in the day when like medical marijuana became a thing here in Southern California, and I remember it was you go in and to the clinic and you'd have to go to the doctor, and it used to be really, really difficult to get a medical marijuana prescription. I remember this was like 2004, 2005 when it first started being a thing. I think it was like you'd only go to like these 3 doctors that would prescribe, and some of them had billboards. There was Dr. Sona Patel, who was on like Melrose and La Brea, had this office. It was wild. And she would do these advertisements in the LA Weekly, and she would be like wearing bikinis and stuff. And she was the weed doctor. It was really funny. And you pay like $800 and get your prescription. I was not one of those people, but I had friends that went and did that. And I just remember, and this is what this feels like, a second wave of all this nonsense. Like, okay, let's go to these sort of shady doctors that have connections to stuff. And they said this Dr. Sangha had, amphetamines in her house. I mean, come on. That's just really bad. Like, ketamine, all this stuff. And you go back to like Michael Jackson in 2009 when he died of the propofol overdose, that his doctor, what was his name? I can't think. He was a Bahamian doctor who ended up ultimately going to prison for like a decade. Michael Jackson's doctor. Michael Jackson. Dr. Conrad Murray. God, I saw Conrad. I was like, Conrad Murray. He was released on October the 7th. So he was the time. So he looked like he served like 4 years. He was convicted in 2 years, convicted in 2011 and was released on October the 28th. Weird, October 28th, just the same day Matthew Perry died, except 10 years earlier, October 28th, 2013. He was Conrad Murray Institute, 12 years. Michael Jackson's doctor, Conrad Murray, opened Medical Institute 12 years after involuntary manslaughter conviction. The DCM Medical Institute opened last month in El Socorro, San Juan. Michael Jackson's former doctor, Dr. Conrad Murray, who was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in 2011, has opened his own medical institute. The DCM Medical Institute opened last month in El Socorro, San Juan. I would assume San Juan, Puerto Rico. San Juan. At the launch event, Murray 70 opened up about why he chose to open his own institute. When I came back to Trinidad, Trinidad, most of the colleagues whom I had trained felt, People True Crime, there you go. When I came back to Trinidad, most of the colleagues with whom I had trained felt that I was too much of a threat to be present. When all I was willing to do was collaborate, further educate, and instill care for more and more. So they decided to eventually lock the doors when they saw the cases I was performing. He said, per the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. He added, it was tough. I dealt with the country looking at locking its borders for 2 years, but I did not give up. I felt that I had to be relentless. Murray grew up in Trinidad and Tobago. Sorry, I said he was in Bahamian. He's from Trinidad and Tobago. After migrating from Grenada with his parents, he later moved to the United States and established himself as a doctor. Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter in Jackson's death from cardiac arrest. Jackson's children, who were present when he died, testified in court during Murray's trial, which is just awful. Awful. Through the 6-week trial, prosecutors portrayed Murray, 58, as a reckless doctor who, for $150,000 a month, sold out the Hippocratic Oath and to treat Jackson's insomnia, gave the King of Pot a nightly drip of propofol, an unpredictable and potentially fatal anesthetic, which, as you know, this is what you give like people who go under for surgery and then bring them out. So yeah, it was really bad. I still remember the day Michael Jackson died. I was in the airport. During the case, prosecutors attempted to show that Murray set the stage for the tragedy by also failing to use proper monitoring equipment and devices to help Jackson breathe under heavy anesthesia. The doctor, they said, also repeatedly left Jackson's bedside to check emails and make phone calls, which Walgren characterized as abandonment. Of course, the defense attorneys argued that before Jackson hired Murray as his personal doctor for his planned This Is It concerts, he had concluded that propofol was the only treatment for his insomnia. The attorneys and their medical expert, Dr. Paul White, suggested that Jackson injected extra propofol and swallowed several tablets of the sedative lorazepam during moments that morning when Murray's back was turned, causing Jackson to die so suddenly that Murray could not have saved him. He served half of his 4-year sentence in prison and returned to Trinidad and Tobago, where he registered to practice as a qualified medical doctor. After the conviction, Murray has had his medical licenses in Texas, California, and Nevada suspended. Again, I don't, going back to Matthew Perry, I think this is, you obviously have it. I can remember at the time, watching CNN and they were interviewing like Usher and they were interviewing, I think, Liza Minnelli, who are obviously friends with Michael Jackson. And I remember them talking about it. And then Deepak Chopra came on and he was like, look, cut the BS. He was like, he was a drug addict. I knew him. He was addicted to painkillers and opiates and drugs. And he took these drugs to fall asleep. He was a drug addict, and anyone who was giving them is a criminal. And he didn't want help. And he hired people. He surrounded himself with a chorus of sycophants to enable him to be able to have these drugs. And the people who did this, shame on them. They should be prosecuted. And I remember that. And it was wild because it sent everybody in a tizzy on CNN. I'm watching it in the airport as I'm going to Ohio. I'm like on the screen. And I remember, I can't remember who was interviewing Deepak Chopra, but they kicked Usher and Liza Minnelli off because they all got butt hurt. They're like defending him. And he's like, no, I want to talk to you, Deepak. And Deepak just breaks it down. Like, yeah, this guy had a problem. I knew him very well. He had a problem. And anybody who gave this to him knew he had a problem and they should be held accountable. So you see this now we're, years later, similar situation and people are being held accountable, which is good. But, it kind of begs the question, who really ultimately bears the weight of the responsibility? Is it the doctors? I think it's mostly the doctors. They take a Hippocratic oath to protect their patients and not give known substance abusers or people who have issues with substances. Those substances I think that they do bear the majority of the weight, in my opinion, that they should take a lot of the blame, because they're enabling someone who is, in a sense, helpless or powerless over these substances, and they know it. And I understand we live in a society that, we maintain free will, etc. But, when somebody is in emotional pain or an addiction, it's, in my opinion, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just not a psychologist. I'm not working with law enforcement. I'm just a guy who's been through a lot of shit. In my opinion, you're abandoning your oath. You're abandoning who you are. And it's a real shame. It's, and, not only are these people all going to probably go to prison or plea deals and all this stuff, and, they're now pariahs for the rest of their life, but they contributed to the death of someone who is loved by many, many of millions of people. And yes, he had just written a book. And it was just, it was very, very sad. 22 vials of ketamine and 9 ketamine lozenges, which were fraudulently obtained. I don't see how this person can't get more time. Chavez, this Dr. Chavez, who just made this plea deal, similarly knew that it was illegal to obtain a prescription of a controlled substance in the name of a patient without the patient's knowledge or consent. So he used another patient's information to get the drugs for Matthew Perry. I don't know how these people even live with themselves doing this. Around September, October 2023, Plasencia contacted Chavez to obtain ketamine for Perry, who was, quote, willing to pay a premium to acquire that ketamine. Per U.S. attorneys, over several weeks, Chavez allegedly submitted false information to obtain ketamine, which would be sold to Perry via Plasencia from wholesale distributors. Despite knowing that Plasencia had, quote, had little, if any, experience treating patients with ketamine, Chavez agreed to transfer vials of ketamine to him in exchange for money. The ketamine lozenges Chavez sent to Plasencia, court attorneys said, were obtained using a fraudulent prescription that listed the name of a patient who had no knowledge of the situation. Again, I don't know how these people sleep at night. It's all about money. The root of all evil. I mean, look, it makes the world go round. I'll gladly take super stickers. Speaking of money, but in all seriousness, look, it's an absolute shame. Yes, mystery singer. Exactly. How do they live with themselves? And they're too stupid to know that that no one escapes their karma. Absolutely. 79% of you say yes. 21% say no. I'll call you later. Then the doctor is definitely responsible. Absolutely, Jennifer Lewis Harris. Yeah, and they were making money off of those drug sales. Yes, they were. Here's my thing. If one can get these drugs without docs, why should docs get the blame? Or does this make docs a drug dealer? Food for thought. That is a great piece of commentary. That is a great piece of commentary, Lisa Pearson. That is an interesting thought. I don't know how easy. Look, I don't really know how to get any illegal drugs, so or drugs, period. So I don't even know where you would start. I do think that I would say that probably people go to these doctors because these doctors nowadays are probably the only source where you can get this, where it's, quote, safe, right? Because there's such a rise in illegal street drug use, obviously in this country, but everything being polluted with fentanyl, right? Or poisoned with fentanyl. There was I've mentioned this many times, but there's cases all the time here in LA of people buying illegal drugs, narcotics that contain fentanyl, thinking it's something else. And then they snort, shoot, ingest, what have you, a Xanax that they got from a friend that got it from a friend of a friend, to, other substances, powdered substances, and it has something in it, stops their heart and they're dead. So I think that more and more people are relying on doctors to safe medication, I suppose, or get them from a pharmacy, a proper pharmacy, and have access to that. I think that is, I think that's why they go to these doctors instead of getting on the street. So in essence, you would say that, yeah, these doctors do end up, I believe, becoming drug dealers themselves. Karen Isabel Stewart, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yeah. This is such a shame. The doctors facilitated this, which resulted in death. Pure greed. Absolutely. I agree. 100%. 100%. It's all about greed and it's all about money. And it's just really, it's really unfortunate because they know that these people are addicts, and they just prey upon them, and it's just awful. I don't even know what to say. Gene Anderson, very sad for Matt's loss. I lost my beautiful niece from an accidental overdose. I'm so sorry. That's absolutely terrible. Doctors who sell drugs don't care about training. They know they are addicts. I would agree with that, Nikki. Absolutely. I think the doctors who carefully prescribe and monitor should not be held responsible if an addict overtakes it. Yes, they are committing. Yes, if they're committing fraud to give it out, then they're guilty. Yeah, I mean, obviously you can't hold doctors that are prescribing properly accountable for prescribing properly. But I think that's where the waters get muddy. I was watching a documentary not too long ago about the opioid crisis, and there's many documentaries about this, but this was about the good old state of Florida, where all these opioid clinics opened up like overnight, and people would just go down. And I remember, because I lived in Ohio, and I remember having friends or people that I knew when I was in college would drive down to Florida and get pills, and they were selling them on campus. And I'm like, how are you getting pills? Like, how? And by the boatloads, I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of pills, and they were selling them on campus, like for party drugs. And and you watch the way that these clinics facilitated and sold these drugs without properly prescribing or getting one doctor to prescribe it, and then just giving you as many as you wanted to pay for. And they knew what they were doing. I can't remember the name of the documentary. It's on Netflix. It's about two brothers that had this empire. And then they started a new clinic after they got out of prison. It's crazy. And they were also white supremacists on top of that, which made it even worse. Like, just vile humans. Chrissy Versace, thank you so much for the super sticker. Thank you for the super sticker, Chrissy Versace, yeah. It's so funny when I read these comments and people are like, God, I can't believe you're singing. Oh, come on. Let's get over it. Pill mills. Yes, Cat loves Catskills. I remember when pill mills were everywhere in Florida. Yes, the pill mills everywhere. I remember when I moved to Orlando. I lived in Orlando briefly before I moved to Los Angeles. Everywhere. They were everywhere. It was so crazy. I'm like, how? It's just something else. It's just next level. Next level. Let's celebrate their first super on a live stream. Oh, yeah, we just did. We sang to them. YouTube. You are amazing. I'm trying to do something with this. I don't know. 80%. What's our poll up to? 76 votes. Yeah, the pill mills were everywhere, and I gotta remember this. I gotta remember these. I gotta remember this. The pill mill documentary. It was like Pharma Bros, maybe, or something like that. Not the pharmacist. The bitter pill, pill mill kingpin. No, American Pain. That's it. American Pain. This was the. I'll share this. I gotta hold on. Oops. There we go. American Pain. This was the documentary. American Pain Review, When the Pills and the Money Kept on Flowing. Darren Foster's documentary offers an energetic profile of twin brothers who operate a slick drug trafficking operation in South Florida. Jeff George in American Pain. And it's just, these guys are just douchebags. Beginning around 2008, a chain of shady pain clinics popped up in South Florida. The storefronts administered opioids on a sweeping scale. Users and dealers alike would travel hundreds of miles to load up. The pill mills were run by Jeff and Chris George, twin brothers whose desire to get rich quick fueled the operation. The story of the Georges receives dynamic retelling in American Pain on Max. It's not on Netflix. Sorry, it's on Max. Named with heavy irony after one of their clinics. The director, Darren Foster, frames the film almost as a profile beginning with the twins' upbringing before zipping to the launch of their venture. In interviews, past associates of the brothers and the brothers themselves, speaking by phone from prison, talk openly about the slickness of their enterprise, the efficiency with which they moved visitors in and out. Foster pairs the testimonials with footage from TV news reporters and eventually from undercover missions by federal agents. The undercover stuff is wild. And these guys were making so much money. It's insane. As suffering carried around them, Jeff and Chris made millions. Foster casts a clear eye on this cruelty, but the film also revels in the rollicking nature of the men's venture. Plenty of time is spent on the nuttier details of their enterprise, the excessive workplace drinking, the money transported in trash bags, the receptionist hired for looks alone. Given only a cursory look is the broken system that enabled the men to conduct their dealings. At the time, Florida laws were beyond lax, and even as the orders grew unwieldy, pharmaceutical suppliers continued to ship the clinic's pills. And that ultimately is like that's the crux of all of this, right? And if you watch, there's a few other documentaries that are out there on the opioid crisis and on the pill crisis, right? And they speak about, they talk about the distribution centers that would get these orders in, and then the pharmaceutical manufacturers on top of that, like they knew that something was going on. Like, oh, demand is up, 300%. There's another documentary that was really well done. I want to say by Davis Guggenheim, but I'm not sure. Opioid documentary. It's not The Pharmacist. It's not Chasing Crime of the Century. Another film. This was actually done by Alex Gibney is who did this. Amazing filmmaker. Alex Gibney did this, and it's really well done. You got to check that out. Crime of the Century. It's very jarring for anyone. And look, I come from Ohio, the Midwest. Opioid epidemic has just ravaged the Midwest, Western Pennsylvania. I mean, it's awful. I mean, it's affected everywhere. Not to say it's affected everywhere, but specifically where I grew up, it's a real problem. And then that leads into fentanyl and abuse and addiction, et cetera, right? And we pray for all those people because it's a real addiction. I remember watching another Netflix series called Dope. And the original first season outlines like different people addicted to different substances, and then it follows drug dealers undercover, and it's wild. It's a wild show, very fascinating, done like in a very Vice style. If you guys like Vice News or Vice documentaries, it's done in that same style. But they were profiling this guy and his girlfriend that were living in a abandoned house, and I want to say in Baltimore or Detroit. I think it was maybe Baltimore. And the guy was telling the story, and he's emaciated, and his girlfriend is a sex worker, putting herself out there to pay for their addiction, which is like $300 or $400 a day at this point now. And he was sharing his story of how just years earlier, he had a house, he had a career, he had a family, he had 2 children, and he, got injured at work or injured in a biking accident or something, and became addicted. And then the doctor cut off his prescription after X amount of years, and he started getting the substances illegally on the street, spending all his money to do that, and is living in an abandoned house with no electricity, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. this particular episode of the series. It's the first season of Netflix's Dope. And if you watch this film, Crime of the Century, that Alex Gibney did about the opioid crisis, you see this trend of, they know, the pharmaceutical companies know that the orders are up, tens of, 100, 200,000%. So they know what's going on. They know that people are overprescribing and people are abusing the narcotics, but they don't care, right? Because it's all about money. It's all about the bottom line for shareholders, for themselves, for the Sackler family, for example, which is what is profiled in Crime of the Century, is the Sackler family, as they created oxycodone, or Oxycontin, and it shows all of this, the really severe effects and the overprescribing. And then you couple that with, you watch American Pain, and you see how, so you get a very clear and poignant look of how the opioid crisis has affected, and the distribution network with which it is distributed or prescribed behind it. And then you see the pill mills in Florida with American Pain. It's fascinating to watch both these documentaries almost in tandem, because you see the whole process, and you see the way that then the drugs are trafficked, because people are driving down. As I said, it's in college. People were driving down and getting these pills and coming back and selling them on campus. And it's like, how do you get this? I think I've been prescribed Vicodin or Oxycontin like maybe 3 times in my life. It's very sad. And so to think about this, to sort of circle back on what I was originally discussing about Matthew Perry and this scenario where you have these people who are in a lot of ways who are victimizing them, because they know that they have an addiction problem. They know that they can make money off of that for their own personal gain, and they're going to sell them they're going to get them their fix. And, obviously it's not right. And it's not to sort of, pontificate, but it's like you're selling your soul for money. And I understand money is important. Look, money is very important. Makes the world go around. We all got to pay bills, right? But to sell your soul for that is quite powerful. I want to get to some of your comments, by the way. And yes, you are welcome. I love documentaries. Thank you for these suggestions. You're welcome, Nikki. As a documentary filmmaker and as a filmmaker, I am very into documentaries, and I am always willing to to pontificate about those and what you should watch. These are good ones. I've seen them. These are good ones. They'll give you a really good understanding, following up with this, what we're talking about here in this episode, of the way that the pharmaceutical, and I'm not here to bash the pharmaceutical industry. There are plenty of other people that will do that, and they think it's a global cabal, which it essentially is anyways. But I'm not here to do that. But what I am here to do is to point out that people, including doctors, will abuse their power to write these prescriptions for people, and it ultimately leads to their death. And the group of enablers, their chorus of sycophants, as I like to refer to them as, they are, in my opinion, just as guilty, because they know what they're doing. But on the flip side, they're working for somebody, and that's their boss. So are they as guilty? Let's start another poll. We have the poll we're going to go ahead and end this poll. 91 votes. 91 votes. Do you guys think that Matthew Perry's docs are to blame? 80% of you said yes. 20% said no. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll. We'll start a new one. Do you think that the assistance of Matthew Perry and others are equally as guilty? Yes or no? Okay. We'll start this poll. I want to hear what you guys weigh in. What are our likes up to, guys? 73. Come on, we can get over 100. Let's get over 100. That would be fantastic. And yes, Joanne, Matthew Perry was so talented. That's the thing that hurts the most. Jennifer Lewis Harris says, Gen X's seventh power. Yes, we are letting it in and allowing it to happen. Over 150,000 people are dying a year, are dying on the streets, and that's just that's just horrible. At Zach, I am thankful for a fair voice and fair heart. You so reflect Collier. I can see why he entrusts you. Bless you, my friend. Thank you, Lisa Pearson. Thank you to Zet for being a moderator. Thank you, Gen X to Seventh Power, Sherry Falls, Cat Loves Catskills, Karen Fan, and the overlord of all the mods, Nightbot. Good old Nightbot doing its thing. And if I missed any mods, I don't think I missed any other mods. You guys are all here, or most of you are all here. Thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to kind of go through your comments. When you look at it, Casey Lee says, when you look at it the other and through, like I needed medication refill today and I was told no, I have to come and see the doctor again for $300 medicine that I've been on. Yeah, so I have a friend whose mother has I thought she had dementia, but she has Alzheimer's, and her doctor prescribed her Adderall, and I remember this friend's been giving this to her for like a year now, and he's like, it really helps her dementia. It doesn't last all day, but she takes the pill in the morning, and she's alert and she's cognizant, like she knows what's going on. And then as it wears off, then she sort of slips back into the Alzheimer's or the dementia. So yesterday I was on the phone with him, or 2 days ago, and he was in the window, in the car, in the drive-through window to get the prescription, and he couldn't. The doctor called in, but they didn't have it in stock, and he couldn't get it for his mother that really needed it. And this is, we obviously hear this a lot with, Ozempic. A lot of people who are diabetic, can't get Ozempic, or people who need it. Because other prescriptions are being filled for those people who are using it for vanity purposes, right? To lose weight, etc. And that's a real issue, right? But he's through the drive-thru. He's like, I don't understand. I was like, well, yeah, man. I was like, there's a shortage of Adderall, and it supposedly has happened because of the global pandemic, last couple of years ago, and its manufacturing has been slow or what have you. But also, it's just overprescribed, and it's overprescribed. And that's how it goes. And so, he really needs it for his mother because it really helps her stay alert. And it's kind of sad. What reminds you of The Notebook, Mystery Singer? Yes, Cat Loves Catskills says the others have ruined it for people who really need the medicine. It's terrible. I would agree. I would absolutely agree. Hello, Cynthia Ann. Yeah, no, I get you. You was not a narcotic. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of overprescription. I'm so sorry, Sherry Falls. We are praying for your mother. We are praying for your mother. Nikki says, I think his assistants who knew enabled him. Yeah, let's see what our poll says, what you guys are thinking. 76 of you say yes, and 24% say no. So the enablers are just as guilty as the doctors. I like your dog more. I'm on Adderall and I have been on it for over 10 years. It's a struggle almost every month to get it filled. Yeah, I understand that. It's really difficult to get. Kelly Kemper says, sometimes it's hard for my husband to get Ozempic and he needs it for diabetes. Yeah, I'm sure. You hear these stories all the time because people just get it. And look, people use it. People use it to lose weight. It's a miracle drug. I did an episode on it like a month ago. And how it's even helping out with, people who suffer addiction issues and alcoholism and things of that nature. And there's been these studies in the UK that have improved, upon it and proved that it really does help. Anyways, back to this article with Matthew Perry. I want to finish this. So the transfer was from this Dr. Chavez to this Dr. Plasencia, who's the gentleman who's pled not guilty. Chavez pled guilty and took a plea deal back in August. Despite knowing that Plasencia had, quote, little, if any, experience in treating patients with ketamine, Chavez agreed to transfer vials of ketamine to him in exchange for money. The ketamine lozenges that Chavez sent to Plasencia, attorneys say, were obtained using a fraudulent prescription that listed the name of a patient who had no knowledge of the situation. At first, Chavez gave Plasencia, quote, at least 4 vials of liquid ketamine lozenges, gloves, and syringes, per the plea agreement. After meeting with Perry and describing it as like a, quote, like a bad movie, Plasencia paid Chavez a portion of his profits. On October the 2nd, after Plasencia told Chavez there was a chance that they, quote, had a repeat business opportunity with Perry, Chavez allegedly replied, quote, let's do everything we can to make it happen. While communicating with ketamine wholesalers, Chavez allegedly lied about the purpose and use of the anesthetic he was trying to obtain, while also fraudulently stating a former workplace still employed him. This just gets worse and worse. Around October 12th, 2023, Chavez learned that the Medical Board of California had launched an investigation into an allegation that he had taken ketamine from his former clinic. He then informed Plasencia of this and stated he wanted to do any future business together, quote, on the up and up, attorneys say. Upon seeing the news of Perry's death, Chavez called Plasencia to inquire whether he thought the actor might have died from the ketamine they distributed, according to Chavez's plea agreement, with Plasencia allegedly replying that he was not concerned due to not seeing Perry for several weeks. Matthew Perry received 6 shots of ketamine per day in days before his death. Wow. Oh, that's just heartbreaking. The ketamine that led to Perry's death was allegedly provided by Fleming and Sangha, according, I think they mean Fleming and Sangha, according to attorneys. On October the 10th, 2023, Assistant Iwamasa contacted Fleming to obtain ketamine, this is this producer, by the way, this film producer, and he conspired with Sangha to acquire and sell the anesthetic to Perry, attorneys say. On October the 24th, 2023, quote, despite less than a week earlier telling a patient at his clinic that Perry was too far gone and spiraling in his addiction, Plasencia ordered 10 vials of ketamine from a wholesaler to sell to Perry, according to a grand jury indictment against Plasencia and Sangha. That same day, Fleming also delivered 25 vials purchased from Sangha to Iwamasa at Perry's house, so that he delivered to Matthew Perry's assistant 25 vials. In the ensuing days, Iwamasa allegedly injected Perry with 6 shots of ketamine daily. On October the 28th, he injected, quote, at least 3 shots of the ketamine obtained from Fleming and Sangha, which, quote, resulted in the death and serious bodily injury of Perry, the indictment alleges. I mean, you know he's addicted, and you know that this guy has a problem, and you just continue to enable him. And it's really tragic. I mean, he was a happy, nice, everybody loved Chandler Bing, supposedly really and very talented guy. And this is just a shame. It's just a shame. If you guys want to check out, I'll have to put in the show notes because I didn't put them earlier. The documentaries I was talking about, and also the link to this article that I was reading. If you guys want to check it out. Yeah, I was, as I said, I wasn't necessarily going to talk about Matthew Perry, but here we are. We're talking about Matthew Perry, and God rest his soul, and prayers to his family. And, it's almost a year since his death, and just all these people participating in this and being not only enablers, but also being pushers. They're like drug pushers, unfortunately. Like they know that he's got a problem with, like, let's make money off this guy. Let's continue to give him more and more and more and more. And all these people should be held accountable, in my opinion. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And yes, his stepfather is Keith Morrison of Dateline fame. Yes. And it's a shame. Makes you think. Anyways, it makes you think. It makes you be grateful for life. And we have it. Mover Nation, we get through another one. Thank you all so much. In 2 weeks, if you are a channel member or a Patreon supporter, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, we will have our Collier's AV Club. I don't know what that is, but you guys got to stay tuned, and I'll post that here in the member section on YouTube and also on my Patreon for all the podcast supporters as well. And we'll do that. That is on a Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. That would be so. What is this? October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. So it'll be October 13th, Sunday, October 13th. We'll be doing the live meet and greet, and yeah. So, or sorry, not live meet and greet, the live Collier's AV Club. Maybe we'll watch one of these docs that I mentioned earlier. Might be cool, or we'll figure something else out. Anyways, Mover Nation, we get through another one. Guys, I just want to say thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for the super chats and the super stickers. I greatly appreciate it. All my channel members and everyone who supports me here, I appreciate it. You guys have no idea. Thank you all just so much. And remember, look, we talk about this stuff and it, it can be overbearing, and, talk about true crime and things like this and tragic circumstances. And, I'm always a big advocate of looking at the sunny side of life and being grateful for what you have. And also, being kind to one another and loving and caring for one another is the most important thing. Don't ever forget it. Here's the outro. Mover Nation, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to all my channel members and Patreon supporters. And for more exclusive content, behind the scenes videos, monthly VIP meet and greets, and watch parties, please consider supporting me on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube channel member. If you like this video, check out this one right here or this one right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps with the algorithm. On that note, I'm Collier Landry. I'll see you on the next one. Good girl, Marisol. Good girl.